It was a busy morning at Johnson's auto repair shop. The sound of engines, tools banging, and people talking filled the air. Mechanics were working hard, trying to fix many cars. In the corner, Jamal, the janitor, was quietly sweeping the floor. He had worked there for many years. Every day, he cleaned the shop and made sure everything was in order. But no one really noticed him. The mechanics rarely spoke to Jamal. They thought of him only as the janitor, someone who cleaned, but did not belong to the team of mechanics. Jamal did not mind. He worked quietly and did his job well. He liked being around cars, even if he did not get to fix them. Sometimes, when the shop was quiet, Jamal would look at the broken engines and dream of fixing them himself. He remembered when he was a child, his father used to teach him how engines worked. But after school, Jamal had to work to help his family, so he never became a mechanic like he wanted. That day, something unusual was happening. A customer had brought a car with a very serious problem. The engine was broken in a way that no one at the shop could fix. The mechanics tried everything they knew. They opened the engine, looked inside, changed parts, but the car still would not start. Everyone was frustrated. "Why won't this engine work?" one mechanic asked loudly. "It's like it's impossible to fix," said another. Jamal was sweeping nearby, but he heard every word. He looked at the engine quietly. He knew the engine had a problem in the fuel system, something many mechanics did not understand well. He remembered his father telling him about this exact issue many years ago. But Jamal kept quiet. He did not want to make trouble or seem like he was showing off. After all, he was only the janitor. Suddenly Mike, the lead mechanic, laughed loudly. He was a tall man with a big voice. "Hey, Jamal," he called out. Jamal stopped sweeping and looked up. Mike smiled in a teasing way. "You think you can fix this engine? You're just the janitor. If you can fix it, we'll all respect you. But if you can't, well, don't waste our time." The other mechanics laughed too. They did not believe Jamal could do anything with that engine. They saw him as a cleaner, not a mechanic. Jamal felt a little nervous, but inside, a small fire started to burn. Maybe this was his chance to prove himself. He took a deep breath and said softly, "Okay, I'll try." The shop went silent. Everyone stopped what they were doing and stared at him. "Really?" Mike asked, surprised. "You want to fix the engine? You don't even have the tools." Jamal smiled. "I'll find a way." Mike shook his head and went back to work. The others whispered and joked, but no one believed Jamal could do it. Jamal walked over to the broken car. He looked under the hood, carefully examining the engine parts. His hands moved slowly, touching the wires, checking the pipes. He thought about everything his father had taught him. The other mechanics continued their work, watching Jamal with surprise but also doubt. Hours passed. The sun moved across the sky. Jamal worked quietly, taking small notes on a paper he found in the trash. He took apart a small part of the engine, cleaned it carefully, and fixed a broken wire that no one else had noticed. The shop was quieter now. The other mechanics stopped their work for a moment. One of them whispered, "Maybe Jamal knows something we don't." But still, no one said anything loud. Finally, Jamal sat back and said, "Try to start the engine now." Mike was skeptical. He took the car keys and put them in the ignition. He turned the key. At first, nothing happened. Then, slowly, the engine started to roar. It was rough at first, but it was alive. The mechanics' mouths opened wide in surprise. They could not believe it. "Wow," Mike said quietly. "How did you do that?" Jamal just smiled, but did not answer. He felt proud but calm. The shop filled with quiet whispers. Some mechanics nodded their heads in respect. Others looked at Jamal with new eyes. But Jamal knew this was only the beginning. Fixing one engine was not enough to change their minds. He would have to work hard every day to earn their trust. That day, something had changed. The janitor was no longer just the janitor. He was someone who dared to try, even when everyone laughed. And the question stayed in the air. Could Jamal really be the skilled mechanic no one saw before? After Jamal fixed the engine, the atmosphere in the shop changed. The mechanics looked at him differently now. Some nodded with respect, But others still doubted. Maybe he got lucky, one whispered. But Jamal didn't say much. He just kept working quietly. That evening, when the shop was almost empty, Jamal sat on a bench. He looked tired but happy. He thought about what had happened that day. It reminded him of his childhood. His father had been a mechanic too. When Jamal was a boy, he spent hours with his father, learning how engines worked. They would take old machines apart and fix them together. But life had not been easy. Jamal's family needed money. So instead of becoming a mechanic, he took the janitor job at this shop. He loved cars, but he thought he could never become a mechanic here. The others would never accept him. Suddenly, the shop door opened. Mike, the lead mechanic, stepped inside. He looked at Jamal with a serious face. "Hey Jamal," Mike said. "Can I talk to you?" Jamal stood up, surprised. "Sure." Mike walked closer and lowered his voice. "Look, I was wrong about you. You really know your stuff. How did you learn to fix that engine?" Jamal smiled quietly. "My father taught me when I was young. I never stopped learning." Mike nodded slowly. "If you want, I can help you. Maybe you could learn more and join the mechanics team." Jamal's eyes lit up. He did not expect this offer. For the first time, someone was giving him a chance. "I would like that," Jamal said softly. Mike smiled. "Good. Tomorrow, come early. We will start training you." As Mike left, Jamal felt hope inside his heart. This was more than a job now. It was a new beginning. The next morning, Jamal arrived early. The shop was quiet and cool. Mike was already there, waiting with a toolbox. "Ready?" Mike asked. Jamal nodded. The day passed with Jamal learning new tools, engine parts, and repair techniques. Sometimes it was hard. Sometimes Jamal made mistakes. But Mike was patient and encouraging. Other mechanics watched. Some still whispered, "He is just a janitor." But Jamal did not care. He worked hard, wanting to prove himself. Days turned into weeks. Jamal's skills grew stronger. He fixed small problems and helped the team. Slowly, the mechanics started to respect him more. One day, the shop received another difficult engine. The mechanics tried, but it was too complex. Mike looked at Jamal and said, "Want to give it a try?" Jamal felt nervous, but he remembered the first challenge and his father's lessons. He nodded. As Jamal opened the engine, the mechanics stopped talking. Everyone watched silently. Hours passed. Jamal worked with focus and care. Slowly, the engine began to respond. When Jamal finally started it, the engine purred like new. The mechanics were shocked again. This time, no one laughed. Jamal smiled quietly. He knew this was the moment he had waited for. The shop was no longer just a place where he cleaned floors. It was a place where he belonged. But deep inside, Jamal wondered, could he really change his life forever? Could he become the mechanic he always dreamed to be? The answer was still unknown. Days after Jamal's big success, the atmosphere in the shop continued to change. Some mechanics began to smile at him, and a few even asked for his help. But not everyone was happy. A few senior mechanics whispered behind his back. They did not want a janitor to become one of them. One morning, the shop owner, Mr. Johnson, called a meeting. He was a serious man who watched the business closely. "I heard about Jamal," Mr. Johnson said. "He fixed 2 engines no one else could. That's impressive." Jamal stood quietly, feeling nervous. Mr. Johnson looked at the mechanics. "I want to see if Jamal can really do this work. So I am giving him a test, a very hard test." Everyone gasped. A test for Jamal? Mike, the lead mechanic, gave Jamal a reassuring smile. "You can do it." The test was a secret project, a very old and complicated engine that had never been fixed at this shop. If Jamal could repair it, he would become an official mechanic. The next day, Jamal faced the engine. It was dusty and rusty. No one else had touched it for years. Jamal felt a mix of fear and excitement. This was his biggest chance. He opened the engine slowly, examining every part. It looked like a puzzle. Hours passed. Jamal worked hard, using everything he knew. Sometimes he felt tired and confused, but he did not stop. The mechanics watched quietly, some hoping he would fail. Then, Jamal found a broken valve deep inside the engine. He remembered his father's advice and carefully replaced it with a part he cleaned and fixed himself. Finally, Jamal closed the engine and asked Mike to try starting it. Mike turned the key. The engine coughed once, twice, then roared to life. The room filled with gasps and cheers. Mr. Johnson smiled widely. "Well done, Jamal. You earned your place here." Jamal felt proud, but also knew this was only the start of his journey. But as the cheers died down, Jamal saw some mechanics looking away, not happy yet. Could Jamal really win their trust completely? Or would he always be an outsider? The real test had just begun. After passing the big test, Jamal felt hopeful. He believed things would get better. But not everyone in the shop liked the changes. A few mechanics started to avoid him. One day during lunch, Jamal overheard a group talking quietly. "Why should a janitor be a mechanic?" One said, "He doesn't belong here." Another added, "He's lucky Mr. Johnson is soft. We should remind him who's boss." Jamal felt hurt, but he stayed quiet. He worked harder, fixing small engines and learning every day. Then, one afternoon, a serious problem happened. A customer brought in a car with a dangerous engine fault. It could cause a crash if not fixed right. Mike was busy, so Jamal offered to help. But one mechanic, Tom, stopped him. "This is too important. You're not ready," Tom said harshly. Jamal looked at Mike, hoping for support. Mike said, "Let Jamal try. I trust him." Tom grumbled but stepped back. Jamal worked carefully. He fixed the problem perfectly. The customer thanked Jamal and left happy. But Tom's anger grew. He started spreading rumors that Jamal's success was luck. Jamal knew things were getting harder. He wanted to prove himself more, but the tension in the shop was rising. One night, after everyone left, Jamal found a note on his locker. It said, "Stop trying. You don't belong here." Jamal felt scared, but did not give up. He looked at the note and thought, "I will show them. I belong here. I can do this." The next day, Jamal came early, ready to face whatever came. But what he didn't know was that the real challenge was still waiting. The next week was tense. Jamal felt eyes on him everywhere he went. But he stayed focused. He knew the only way to earn respect was by proving himself every day. One morning, Mr. Johnson called Jamal into his office. "Jamal," he said, "there is a big job coming. A famous race car needs a full engine rebuild. It's very difficult work. If you can do it, I will make you a full mechanic here." Jamal's heart raced. This was his chance, the moment he had dreamed of. Mike gave him a thumbs up. "You've got this." But Jamal also knew the pressure was huge. The whole shop was watching. Some hoped he would fail. For days, Jamal worked on the race car engine. It was tricky and complicated. Every part had to be perfect. Sometimes late at night, Jamal doubted himself. "Can I really do this?" But he remembered his father's words, "Believe in yourself and never give up." Finally, the day came to test the engine. The mechanics gathered around as Jamal started the engine. It roared to life smoothly. The sound was strong and clear. Everyone was silent for a moment, then burst into applause. Mr. Johnson smiled and said, "Jamal, welcome to the team. You've earned it." Jamal felt proud, but also thankful. This was not just his victory. It was proof that hard work and belief could change everything. But just when things seemed perfect, Jamal noticed Tom staring at him with a cold, hard look. Jamal knew the battle for respect was not over yet. After the big success with the race car engine, things began to change in the shop. More mechanics started to talk to Jamal with respect. They asked questions and even shared tips. Jamal was no longer just the janitor. He was part of the team. Mike stayed by Jamal's side, encouraging him every day. Even Mr. Johnson smiled more often, proud of what Jamal had achieved. But Tom, the mechanic who had been so against Jamal, was still cold and distant. Jamal did not mind. He knew respect was earned, not given. One afternoon, a new problem came in. A customer's expensive car broke down. The mechanics were busy, and the shop was short-staffed. Tom tried to fix the problem but struggled. Finally, he asked Jamal for help. Jamal didn't hesitate. Together, They worked on the car. Jamal shared ideas, and Tom listened. After some time, the engine started perfectly. Tom looked at Jamal, then nodded slowly. "Okay," Tom said quietly, "you're good. I was wrong." Jamal smiled. It was the first time Tom admitted it. From that day on, Jamal felt truly part of the shop family. He had started as a janitor, ignored and doubted. But with patience, hard work, and skill, he changed everything. Jamal's story showed that no matter where you begin, you can reach your dreams if you never give up. And in that busy auto shop, everyone learned a powerful lesson about respect, courage, and believing in yourself.